There comes a moment in every life when the ordinary walls of your house begin to shake. Not from trouble, not from chaos, but from divine energy preparing to enter. Some of you have felt it lately. The tension, the restlessness, the stirring in your spirit because something greater than your circumstances is on its way. The universe, God, the source, whatever name you give it, is about to make a personal visit to your household. You've been waiting, you've been building, you've been battling. Get ready. Divine power is about to knock on your door. When divine power moves, it doesn't need permission. It doesn't check your background, your status, or your bank account. It simply flows where there is faith, preparation, and alignment. Every challenge you've faced was not to break you. It was to prepare your space for what's about to arrive. You see, divine power doesn't visit where there is chaos. It visits where there is readiness, where a soul has decided, I'm done surviving. It's time to live. And tonight, I came to tell somebody, your household, your mind, your heart is about to experience a visitation. Get ready for restoration, elevation, and revelation. When your life feels scattered, when your mind is racing in 1,000 directions, when your emotions are here one moment and gone the next, that's not weakness. That's a sign that something divine is calling you back into alignment. You see, divine power doesn't flow through confusion. It flows through clarity. It doesn't move through chaos. It moves through order. When your heart, your words, and your actions line up with the truth of who you really are, power begins to move. That's what I mean when I say alignment brings activation. Think of it like a river. A river doesn't argue with the rocks. It simply finds its path and keeps flowing. The current is strongest when the water is in its natural channel. The moment it's blocked, it loses its strength and starts to stagnate. Many of us live like that, blocked by fear, resistance, overthinking, or trying to control everything around us. We dam up our own flow. And then we wonder why the energy feels low, why the doors don't open, why the blessings seem delayed. It's not that divine power isn't present. It's that we're not in alignment to receive it. Let me make it plain. Have you ever had one of those mornings where everything just seems to go wrong? You oversleep, spill your coffee, miss the bus, argue with someone, and then for the rest of the day, it feels like the universe is against you. That's misalignment at work. But on the other hand, there are days when you wake up early, take a deep breath, speak gratitude before your feet hit the floor, and everything just seems to flow. The traffic lights turn green at the right time, the right call comes through, opportunities seem to find you. That's not luck, that's alignment. When your spirit and your actions vibrate in harmony with divine timing, you move differently. Life begins to cooperate with you. Alignment is not about perfection, it's about position. You don't have to have everything figured out. You just need to be facing the right direction. Even a crooked tree can still reach toward the sun. What matters is your intention, your willingness to bring your life back to center. Time you pause and say, let me breathe. Let me reconnect. Let me remind myself who I am and whose energy sustains me. You're shifting back into alignment. There's a rhythm to divine power. Rhythm is peace, not the absence of noise, but the presence of purpose. When you're in alignment, peace becomes your default, even when life shakes. You stop chasing validation, stop comparing, stop forcing doors that aren't meant for you. You trust that what is meant for you will find you, because you're aligned with the source that created it. You can see this in nature. Sun doesn't rush to rise. The seasons don't argue about when it's their turn. The ocean doesn't apologize for its depth. Everything in creation moves in alignment with divine order, and because of that, everything functions with power. You are no different. When your energy matches your purpose, your results shift. You speak differently. You think clearly. You attract what belongs to you, not by chasing it, by becoming a magnet for it. Let's bring it closer to home. Imagine someone who's been trying for years to build a business. Every time they take a step forward, something falls apart. They're frustrated, exhausted, and ready to give up. Then one day, instead of forcing things, they take a step back. They stop asking, what do I need to do? And start asking, what do I need to align? Maybe it's their mindset. They've been operating from fear instead of faith. Maybe it's their circle. They've been surrounded by people who drain their energy. Maybe it's their habits, staying up late, doubting themselves, ignoring their health. When they realign those areas, the energy starts to shift. The same business plan, the same dream, now it moves because the person is aligned. Alignment brings clarity, and clarity brings power. You can't hit a target you can't see. Many people are exhausted not because they're doing too little, but because they're doing too much that isn't aligned. They're saying yes to things that drain them, spending time in environments that dim them, and holding on to relationships that block their growth. When you start aligning your life with what uplifts you, you stop fighting the current and start flowing with it. And let me tell you, alignment doesn't mean life gets easy, but it does mean life gets purposeful. Challenges will still come. They won't shake you like they used to. You'll face them with calm because you'll recognize that even obstacles have their place in divine alignment. Delay that frustrated you might actually be protection. The rejection that hurt you might actually be redirection. When you're aligned, you stop seeing life as happening to you and start seeing it as happening for you. Every area of your life, your health, relationships, finances, emotions carries an energy. If one part is out of alignment, the others feel it. That's why your peace is priceless. Guard it, protect it, nurture it. Because when your peace is stable, your power is unstoppable. So I challenge you today, check your alignment. Are your actions matching your intentions? Are your words supporting your vision, or are they sabotaging it? Are you showing up as the version of yourself that divine power can flow through? Because when you align your daily life, your habits, your thoughts, your environment with your higher calling, something extraordinary begins to happen. Doors that were closed start to open. People who were distant start to appear. Opportunities you couldn't chase begin to chase you. The divine doesn't need you to be perfect. It just needs you to be in position. And when you are, you'll feel it. You'll feel the calm confidence of knowing you're exactly where you're meant to be. You'll feel that invisible current carrying you forward. That's not coincidence, that's alignment. That's divine power activating in your life. And once that activation begins, no force, no fear, and no failure can stop it. Because alignment is the language through which divine power speaks. And when you listen, the entire universe listens back and care enough. Pressure prepares you for power. It's one of the hardest truths to accept, yet one of the most liberating once you understand it. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid pressure. They want comfort, ease, predictability. But divine growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. It happens in the pressure zone. Every diamond you've ever seen was once a piece of carbon. Common, ordinary, unnoticed, until pressure transformed it. Pressure doesn't destroy what's real. It reveals what's powerful. Think about it. When you boil water, it turns into steam, and that steam can move an engine, light up a city, or drive a train. But it only happens under pressure. The same principle applies to your life. When life heats up, when situations tighten around you, when it feels like you can't take another hit, that's the exact environment where divine power is preparing to rise within you. You're being refined, not ruined. The pressure is proof that something valuable is forming. Maybe you've been under financial pressure, bills stacking, plans delayed, opportunities slipping through your fingers. Or maybe it's emotional pressure. People misunderstanding you, relationships shifting, responsibilities piling on, and you ask, why me? But what if the question isn't why me? What's being made in me? Pressure doesn't visit where there's no purpose. If you feel squeezed, it's because the universe sees potential in you that hasn't yet been expressed. Let's take an everyday example. Picture a young woman working long hours, trying to balance her job, her studies, and her family. She's tired, overwhelmed, on the edge of giving up. But in that pressure, she learns to manage her time, sharpen her focus, and develop resilience. She becomes stronger, sharper, more efficient, not because life was easy, but because it wasn't. The same woman who once doubted herself now carries confidence, not borrowed from anyone else, but earned through the weight she survived. That's pressure turning potential into power. Pressure teaches you what comfort never could. It introduces you to parts of yourself you didn't know existed. You discover courage in fear, patience in delay, faith in uncertainty. When life presses you, it's really stretching you, stretching your mind, your capacity, your belief. And here's the beauty: pressure never leaves you the same. You come out wiser, tougher, deeper, more connected to your purpose. Think about the seed planted underground. It's buried, surrounded by darkness, pressed by soil from every side. It doesn't look alive. It looks trapped. But while no one sees it, the seed is breaking open. The shell is cracking, and life is pushing through. That's pressure doing its work. If the seed could speak, it might say, "This hurts." But the divine would whisper back, "It's not punishment, it's preparation. You're not being buried, you're being planted." And soon, that same seed becomes a tree. Root is strong, reaching high, bearing fruit. Pressure doesn't just change circumstances, it changes character. The divine uses pressure as a classroom where strength is taught. You can't learn endurance in peace, you learn it in struggle. You can't master patience when everything's perfect. You master it when everything feels delayed. You can't appreciate light until you've walked through the dark. The people who carry real power aren't those who avoided the storm. They're the ones who learned how to dance in the rain. When you're under pressure, the first instinct is to escape it. But if you keep running from pressure, you keep running from power. Sometimes you need to sit in the heat and let it shape you. You need to remind yourself that diamonds aren't created in cool rooms. They're created deep underground where the heat and the pressure are unbearable. So if you're in that season where it feels like everything's closing in, breathe. This is not the end. It's the forge. You're being prepared for something weightier, something greater, something divine. Let's talk about how pressure refines your vision. Everything is comfortable. We get distracted easily. We waste time, procrastinate, and drift. But when life tightens, suddenly you focus. You start asking real questions. What matters? Who matters? What do I really want? Pressure strips away the unnecessary and brings your priorities into crystal clarity. It's like a fire burning off everything that doesn't belong. That's why people often find their purpose right after their toughest seasons. The pressure clears the noise. And it's not just personal. Look at history. Inventions, breakthroughs, revolutions. Most great ideas were born out of pressure. People didn't create because life was easy. They created because they had to. The pressure of need gave birth to innovation. The pressure of injustice gave rise to movements. Pressure of challenge gave birth to change. So if you feel the squeeze, take heart. That's a sign that something new is trying to emerge through you. You might be under pressure now, but don't mistake it for punishment. Pressure is divine language for get ready. It's the universe saying, there's more in you than you've shown. The discomfort you feel is not the signal to quit. It's the signal to transform. Every time life has pressed you before, you came out wiser, you came out stronger, you came out better. So why would this time be any different? When you embrace pressure instead of fighting it, you unlock its gift. You stop saying, why is this happening to me? And start declaring, this is happening for me. The weight you're carrying today is the strength you'll stand on tomorrow. You'll look back and realize that the very thing that once made you cry was the same thing that made you powerful. So the next time life presses you, breathe, trust, and remember divine power is shaping you. The cracks you feel aren't breaking you down, they're breaking you open. And when you finally rise from this season, you'll shine with a brilliance only pressure could have produced. You won't just have survived, you'll have been transformed, because pressure in the hands of the divine doesn't crush you. It crowns you. The atmosphere of your home determines the flow of divine energy in your life. Every space you live in carries a vibration, frequency that either lifts your spirit or drains your strength. You can walk into a place and immediately feel whether peace lives there or not. That's because energy is real, invisible, but undeniable. Your home is not just the walls around you, it's the energy you create within them. It's the way you speak, the way you think, the way you treat yourself and others inside that space. A home filled with tension, fear, and complaint will repel divine flow. But a home filled with gratitude, calm, and positive intention becomes a magnet for divine power. When people think of cleaning a house, they usually think of sweeping floors and washing dishes. There's another kind of cleaning that's even more important: cleansing the atmosphere. You can have a spotless room and still feel heavy inside it if the energy isn't right. Have you ever noticed that after an argument, when the shouting stops, the air still feels thick? That's emotional residue. That's energy that needs to be released. Maybe you've walked into someone's home and immediately felt peace, like the place itself exhaled calmness. That's not luck. That's alignment in atmosphere. They've cultivated energy that welcomes the divine. Your home is the first temple you ever occupy. It's the environment where your mind rests, your thoughts form, your dreams are born. If that space is chaotic, your spirit becomes restless. When it's filled with order, calm, and intention, your creativity awakens, your thoughts expand, and your energy rises. The divine moves most freely in places where there is harmony. When your environment supports your peace, your mind becomes fertile ground for divine ideas, divine opportunities, and divine strength. Think about a garden. The soil has to be right before anything can grow. If it's dry, cluttered with weeds, or filled with stones, the seed can't take root. But when the soil is rich and cared for, even a small seed can flourish. Your home is the soil for your life. If the soil of your home is toxic, filled with negativity, resentment, and constant noise, how can the seeds of peace, prosperity, and purpose grow there? When your home is soaked in gratitude, when laughter echoes through the walls, when love is spoken often and sincerely, divine energy flows like water through it. Sometimes changing the atmosphere of your home starts with changing the way you speak in it. Words carry vibration. Every complaint, every insult, every harsh tone releases energy that hangs in the air. Over time, energy builds a climate, and you start to live in what you speak. If you constantly say, "I'm tired, I'm broke," nothing ever works out, that's what your atmosphere becomes. But if you start saying, "I'm growing, I'm grateful, things are shifting for me," your atmosphere shifts with you. Your walls begin to echo back power instead of pain. You don't have to be rich or live in a mansion to create a divine atmosphere. You can live in a small room and still fill it with light. A clean space, candle, a whispered prayer, a few words of gratitude. These simple acts can shift energy instantly. Even the act of opening your windows and letting sunlight in can break stagnant energy. When you move with intention, the divine responds. Because divine power doesn't visit where there's perfection, it visits where there's peace. Let's take a real life example. Imagine a family constantly surrounded by stress, bills piling up, arguments over small things, noise all the time, everyone feels drained. Then one day, they make a decision to change the energy in their home. They start by decluttering, getting rid of things that no longer serve them. They play calm music in the mornings instead of turning on negative news. They speak words of gratitude before meals. They light a candle in the evening and share one thing they're thankful for. It doesn't take long before the feeling of that house changes. The same house, the same people, but a new flow. Now opportunities begin to appear, ideas begin to form, relationships begin to heal. Why? Because the atmosphere changed. The divine loves to dwell in places of gratitude and peace. Sometimes the energy that blocks divine flow isn't around you. It's within you. If you're carrying anger, guilt, or fear, that energy radiates into your space. You can't fill your home with peace while carrying storms inside. Part of cleansing your home is cleansing your heart. Forgive, release, let go of what no longer serves you. Don't bring yesterday's battles into today's environment. Speak love into your home, even if no one else does. Walk through your space and say, peace lives here, joy lives here, abundance lives here. The moment you declare it, the energy begins to align. You can even create rituals that invite divine presence, not religious rituals, but personal ones. Maybe you start your mornings by standing still for a minute, breathing deeply, and setting your intention for the day. Maybe you end your nights by saying thank you for one thing, no matter how small. These acts might seem simple, but they shift energy profoundly. The divine responds to consistency. When your home becomes a sanctuary of gratitude, every visitor feels it, every challenge softens, every blessing multiplies. The atmosphere of your home is a reflection of your inner state. If your home feels heavy, it's often because your spirit is carrying something it needs to release. So start small. Open your heart, open your windows, open your mind. Rearrange your space if you must. Change invites new energy. Play uplifting sounds. Surround yourself with things that remind you of peace, love, and purpose. Most importantly, fill the air with gratitude. Gratitude turns ordinary rooms into sacred spaces. When you walk through your door, you should feel like you've entered peace itself. Your home should recharge you, not drain you. It should whisper, "You are safe here. You are growing here. You are loved here." Because when peace lives in your home, power flows through it. The divine doesn't just visit, it settles there. Everyone who steps into that space feels it. So remember, the atmosphere of your home is the gate through which divine energy flows. Guard it.
Nurture it.
Fill it with light. Because when your home vibrates with peace, your life begins to overflow with power. That power doesn't just stay within your walls, it spills out into everything you do, everywhere you go, and everyone you touch. Expectation is the doorway for the divine. It is the invisible bridge between what you hope for and what you eventually hold. Expectation is not just a thought, it's energy, vibration, alignment. It's the quiet confidence that something greater is on its way, even when there's no visible sign of it. When you expect something with your whole heart, you invite it, you open the door, you make room for the divine to move. Life rises to meet the level of your expectation. If you expect little, life gives you little. But when you raise your expectation, you raise your experience. Every single breakthrough, every success story, every transformation began with someone expecting more. Expectation is faith in motion. It's not about wishing, it's about knowing. It's about walking into each day as if what you've prayed for is already forming behind the scenes. The divine moves through people who believe deeply enough to prepare for what they haven't yet seen. When you expect good, you begin to act like it's already coming. Your posture changes, your choices change, your energy changes. You start aligning your actions with your vision. That alignment becomes the invitation for divine power to show up. Think of a farmer. He doesn't wait to see rain before planting his seeds. He plants first because he expects the rain to come. That's expectation in action. It's preparation built on trust. If he waited to see evidence before acting, he'd miss the season. Many people miss their moments because they refuse to expect until they see proof. But divine power doesn't respond to sight, it responds to faith-filled expectation. You have to believe in the unseen to receive the extraordinary. Expectation changes your language. People who expect greatness speak differently. They don't complain about lack. They speak gratitude for what's unfolding. They don't say, "I hope it happens someday." They say, "It's on its way." The tone of expectation carries power. Have you ever noticed that people who walk with confidence seem to attract opportunities? That's not coincidence. That's the magnetic pull of expectation. When you believe something good is about to happen, your entire energy field prepares to receive it. People can feel that. Circumstances can feel that. The universe responds to that vibration. Let's take an everyday example. Imagine two people going for a job interview. Both have similar skills. The first one walks in with doubt in their heart, thinking, "They probably won't pick me. There are so many others better than me." That energy shows up in their body language, their words, even their eyes. The second person walks in expecting favor, saying silently, "This opportunity has my name on it." That energy changes everything. They speak with clarity. They smile with confidence. They radiate calm. The interviewer may not know why, but they feel it. And 9 times out of 10, the one with expectation wins the room. That's divine energy responding to confidence, not arrogance, faith. Expectation doesn't mean life will always go exactly as planned. Sometimes what you expect doesn't arrive in the package you imagined, but divine timing is never wrong. When you hold expectation in your heart, you develop patience. You learn to trust that even delays carry purpose. The door that closed wasn't rejection, it was redirection. Plan that fell apart wasn't punishment, it was preparation for something higher. Expectation keeps your energy open so that even when life shifts, your faith doesn't crumble. There's a story in every human life about waiting for an opportunity, waiting for healing, waiting for change. Waiting is not weakness when expectation is alive. When you wait with expectation, you don't sit still, you get ready, you keep building, keep learning, keep improving. Because sooner or later, divine alignment will meet your preparation. People who expect the divine to move keep the fire burning even in silence. They say, it hasn't happened yet, but it will. And that certainty becomes the magnet for manifestation. Think of a child waiting for their birthday. They're not anxious or doubtful. They know the day will come. They count down with joy. They prepare, they dream, they imagine the gifts. That's pure expectation. Somewhere along the way, adulthood taught us to fear disappointment more than to believe in possibility. Divine power flows through the same childlike faith that says, something wonderful is coming. When you reclaim that kind of expectation, miracles start to meet you again. Expectation is powerful because it shapes your decisions. A person who expects growth doesn't waste energy on negativity. They protect their peace because they know something big is coming. They stay disciplined because they know success requires readiness. They stop doubting themselves because they know divine power doesn't waste itself on random lives. It flows through those who expect it, prepare for it, and walk toward it. Let's imagine you're building a vision, a business, a dream, a personal goal. At first, it looks impossible. Resources are limited, support is scarce, time feels short. But if you let doubt dominate, your energy will collapse and everything around you will match that vibration. If you decide this dream is already alive in the unseen, your energy rises. You begin to speak life into your plan, take steps every day, act as if success is inevitable. The divine meets that momentum. Opportunities start showing up not by magic, but by alignment. Because expectation creates movement. There's an old truth whispered across time: what you expect, you attract. When you expect failure, life echoes that expectation back. When you expect blessing, life rearranges itself to meet you there. So if you've been feeling stuck, ask yourself, what have I been expecting? Have I been anticipating disappointment, or have I been preparing for victory? Because your inner expectation writes the script for your outer experience. You don't have to see how it will happen to believe that it will. Expectation is trusting the unseen blueprint of your destiny. It's believing that divine timing is weaving everything perfectly behind the curtain. Even when life feels quiet, you'll hold that sacred knowing something is unfolding for me. That mindset doesn't just change your circumstances, changes you. It makes you resilient, radiant, ready. So today, raise your expectation, expect healing, expect progress, expect favor, expect doors to open that you didn't even knock on. Expect the divine to visit your household in ways that defy logic. Expect to feel lighter, stronger, more alive, because expectation doesn't just wait, it calls things into being. And the moment your heart dares to expect, the divine begins to move. Your expectation is the signal, the invitation, the open doorway through which miracles walk in. Divine power empowers you to empower others. When the divine moves through your life, it never comes to stop with you. It comes to flow through you. You become a vessel, a channel, a living reminder that divine energy is not meant to be hoarded but shared. The true evidence of divine power is not just how it blesses you, how it transforms the people and environments around you. When you rise, others rise. When your energy expands, it awakens the light in those who cross your path. That's how divine power works. It multiplies through connection. When you are touched by divine strength, something shifts inside you. You begin to see differently. The same struggles that once broke you become the stories that inspire others. Pain that once made you question everything becomes the wisdom that gives others hope. You realize that your experiences weren't just about you. They were shaping you to help someone else. Every storm you survived gave you language for someone else's healing. Every mountain you climbed gave you a view that someone else can follow. That's divine multiplication. There's a quiet power in people who've been refined by life. They carry presence. When they speak, you listen, not because they shout, but because their energy carries truth. That's the energy of empowerment. You don't have to be famous, rich, loud to empower others. Sometimes it's as simple as listening deeply, encouraging genuinely, or sharing your light without competition. Empowerment is contagious. When you walk in divine confidence, people around you start believing they can too. Think about it. Have you ever been around someone whose energy lifted you without them even saying much? They walk into a room and peace follows. They speak, your fear begins to quiet down. They remind you of your own strength just by being who they are. That's not charisma. That's divine power flowing through a life aligned with purpose. The world doesn't need more perfection. It needs more people who radiate authentic light. You embody divine empowerment, you become that light. Empowerment doesn't mean doing everything for others. It means awakening what already lives inside them. It's about showing people their own reflection until they remember their worth. Divine power doesn't create dependency, it creates strength. You can see it in a teacher who believes in a struggling student, a parent who nurtures a child's confidence, a friend who reminds you of your greatness when you've forgotten it. That's divine energy in motion, transforming hearts through human hands. Imagine someone who once felt powerless, a person who grew up doubting themselves, always overlooked, always silenced. Then one day, they experience a breakthrough. They find their voice. They tap into divine strength. Suddenly, the same person who once whispered begins to speak with clarity and conviction. They start helping others who feel invisible, reminding them, I was there once, and you can rise too. That's empowerment. That's divine energy flowing from healing to healing, from one heart to another. When divine power enters your life, it shifts your focus from self-preservation to purpose. You stop asking, what can I get? And start asking, what can I give? You realize that abundance flows through generosity. The more you share, your time, your kindness, your wisdom, the more life pours back into you. Because divine power expands in motion. It's like a river. If it stops flowing, it stagnates. When it keeps moving, it stays alive and vibrant. When you give, you don't lose, you multiply. Let's take a real life example. Think of a person who's been through financial struggles, but never let those struggles harden their heart. Even when they have little, they still find ways to give, maybe a word of encouragement, a shared meal, a helping hand. That person carries a wealth the world can't measure. Their generosity opens doors that money never could. The divine smiles on a heart that gives freely because it mirrors the nature of divine energy. It's abundant, overflowing, and self-renewing. Empowering others also strengthens your own spirit. When you help someone rise, you rise a little higher too. When you lift another person, you lift yourself. It's a law of divine reciprocity. The energy you give always finds its way back multiplied. You don't empower others because they're weak. You empower them because you see their potential. And in doing so, you remind yourself of your own. Empowerment is not about hierarchy, it's about connection. It's the recognition that we are all sparks of the same divine source, all carrying fragments of infinite power within us. There's something deeply sacred about using your light to ignite another's. Imagine lighting candles in a dark room. When you use your flame to light another, your own light doesn't diminish. It grows brighter. Suddenly, the room that once held shadows becomes filled with warmth and glow. That's what happens when you choose to empower others. You illuminate the world one soul at a time. And empowerment doesn't always look grand. Sometimes it's quiet. It's the smile you give a stranger who feels unseen. It's the patience you offer when someone's struggling. It's telling your story honestly so that someone else knows they're not alone. These small acts carry immense power because they come from a divine place, compassion. When divine energy flows through compassion, transformation begins. The beauty of divine empowerment is that it's limitless. You can't run out of it because it doesn't come from your ego. It comes from your connection to something greater. The more you draw from that connection, the more power you have to share. You become a living conduit of peace, inspiration, and love. And as you pour into others, divine power keeps refilling you from within. It's an endless exchange between giving and receiving, flowing and growing. So if divine power has visited your household, don't keep it locked inside your walls. Let it move through you. Speak life into those who are tired. Be kindness where there is bitterness. Offer understanding where there is judgment. Show up with grace where there is pain. Your presence can shift atmospheres. Your words can lift hearts. And your example can awaken faith in those who have forgotten how to believe. Because when divine power empowers you, it's not just about you, it's about the world you touch. You become a living instrument of light, carrying healing in your voice, strength in your hands, and hope in your eyes. That's the ultimate purpose of divine visitation, not to make you greater than others, to remind others that greatness already lies within them. And when you walk in that truth, you don't just change your own story, you help rewrite the story of everyone who crosses your path. When divine power begins to move in your life, transformation doesn't just touch your circumstances. It begins with your mindset. Everything you experience, everything you attract, everything you become starts in the unseen realm of thought. The way you think determines the energy you release. The energy you release shapes your entire reality. Divine power cannot thrive in a mind cluttered with fear, resentment, or doubt. It flourishes in a mind that has been renewed, a mind that has decided to think higher, believe deeper, and expect greater. Every transformation begins with a single shift in perception. What you once called a setback, you begin to see as preparation. What you used to view as rejection, you now understand as redirection. When divine power enters your awareness, it teaches you that nothing in your life was wasted, not the pain, not the waiting, not the mistakes. All becomes part of the divine design that pushes you toward purpose. Your mindset becomes your master key, unlocks the level of divine flow available to you. Let's bring this closer to daily life. Imagine two people facing the same problem. Both lose their jobs unexpectedly. The first person crumbles under fear, saying, "I'll never recover. Nothing ever works for me." The second person pauses, takes a breath, and says, "Maybe this is the universe redirecting me to something greater." One sinks under the weight of despair, while the other rises through faith. The only difference between them is mindset. The external event was the same, but the internal response determined their outcome. That's how divine power works. It flows through the mindset that invites it, not the one that resists it. When you choose to renew your thoughts, you open the door to transformation. Every time you replace fear with trust, doubt with gratitude, worry with peace, you align yourself with divine frequency. The energy of your thoughts radiates out and begins to rearrange your environment. People call it coincidence or luck, but it's alignment. The universe mirrors what you hold in your mind. When your inner world is peaceful, your outer world begins to reflect that peace. Think of a radio. You can't hear a certain station unless you tune into its frequency. The signal is already there, flowing through the air, but you have to align your dial to receive it. The same is true of divine energy. The power is always present. It doesn't leave or arrive. It simply waits for you to tune your mind to its frequency, and you do that by choosing thoughts that align with truth, hope, and gratitude. The more you focus on what uplifts you, the clearer the signal becomes. Some people wait for divine change while holding on to toxic thoughts, jealousy, bitterness, fear, self-pity, not realizing those thoughts block the flow. The divine cannot dwell in a mind that continually repeats, "I'm not enough," or "life is unfair." To receive power, you must make space for it. You have to let go of mental clutter and clear the spiritual static. The moment you decide to stop rehearsing your pain and start affirming your purpose, the energy begins to move. Your thoughts are seeds. Whatever you plant grows. If you plant negativity, you reap frustration. But if you plant gratitude, confidence, and belief, you reap peace and opportunity. That's why renewing your mindset daily is essential. It's not a one-time act, it's a lifestyle. You wake up and choose your thoughts as carefully as you choose your clothes. You say, "Today, I'm dressing my mind in courage, wrapping my heart in gratitude, and walking in expectation." When you do that, Divine power responds because you've created an environment where it can flourish. Let's imagine someone who has struggled with self-doubt for years. Every time they want to start something new, a voice in their head says, "You can't do that." But one day, after hearing a message or reading something uplifting, something inside them clicks. They start challenging that inner voice. Replace
I can't.
with "I can learn." They replace "I'm not ready" with "I'm being prepared." They begin to notice small shifts, new ideas, new connections, new courage. That's not magic, that's divine power awakening through a renewed mind. Renewal also requires letting go of the past. You can't embrace the new while clinging to old pain. The divine can't pour fresh energy into a heart that's holding bitterness. Releasing the past doesn't mean forgetting it. It means learning from it and allowing it to strengthen you instead of imprisoning you. Forgive yourself. Forgive others. Free your mind from the weight of yesterday. Divine power flows most freely through a mind that has made peace with what was and is now focused on what can be. Your mindset doesn't just affect you, it affects everyone around you. When your thoughts are elevated, your energy uplifts others. You become the calm in someone else's storm, a hope in someone else's darkness. People can sense when you're aligned. They feel it in your presence, in your words, in your silence. Renewed mindset radiates divine peace. It doesn't need to announce itself. It simply exists and transforms everything it touches. And here's something powerful. When you renew your mind, you renew your possibilities, you start to see opportunities where before you saw obstacles. You begin to act on ideas you once dismissed. You attract people who match your new vibration. Life becomes lighter, freer, and more purposeful. Divine power doesn't just visit, it begins to flow through you continuously. You realize that your external world is simply a mirror reflecting your internal condition. And that realization gives you power to shape your destiny. Renewal is not an event, it's a process. Some days you'll feel strong, other days uncertain. But even on the uncertain days, divine power is working within you, slowly rewiring your thoughts and elevating your perception. Every time you choose positivity over pessimism, growth over fear, love over anger, you're transforming. You're evolving into the version of yourself that divine power has always seen in you. So nurture your thoughts, speak life over yourself, be intentional with what you feed your mind, the words you hear, the conversations you allow, content you consume. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to think higher and dream bigger. Because your mind is sacred ground. Whatever you plant there will become your life. When divine power renews your mind, everything else follows. Peace replaces anxiety. Vision replaces confusion. Strength replaces exhaustion. And soon, your life becomes a reflection of that inner transformation. You begin to move with grace, speak with wisdom, and live with purpose. The world around you starts to shift because the world within you has changed. That's the beauty of divine renewal. It begins inside and radiates outward, touching everything and everyone connected to you. And once your mind is renewed, there is no limit to how far divine power can take you.